Ben, I can ask forever, uh, why and why me? And, somehow I've been able to, over the years, turn it into why not me. And I've got a couple of favorite ski runs on highlands. There's why and there's why not. And I choose why not. I feel like to this day that if it wasn't the skiing accident, I feel like it could have been something else. That it was a time in my life where I feel like I needed a wake up call and a shake up. And it was, massive for me and life altering. And who knows the woman that I would have become had I not gone through this journey of paralysis. I've spoken about paralysis and that it's a life sentence. One of the biggest lessons in my life has been around that dance of hope and acceptance, and how hope and acceptance can and must coexist. What I accept right here, right now, I'm paralyzed. Yes, right here, right now. But what I do to my body to prepare my body, I can prepare for what I could be tomorrow. So what I accept right here, right now, frees me to be hopeful for what the next moment might bring.
So that was Amanda Boxtel, and this is the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. And for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Dr. Benjamin Alter. I'm a licensed naturopathic physician, and I practice holistic lifestyle medicine worldwide. Online, you can find out more and get yourself on the schedule for a complimentary 15-minute exploratory consultation at www.alter.health. So, Amanda, she's the guest on the podcast today. She's an amazing and inspirational human being. If you don't know her yet, you are in for a treat. We really did just have a wonderful conversation. I left, or she left the studio, leaving me feeling really inspired, really kind of hopeful. And we talked about hope. We talked about this balance between hope and acceptance. That's really what kind of landed home deepest for me, which I think is relevant for anyone, regardless of whether or not they are paralyzed or mobile in their life. Having hope and also having acceptance is really a beautiful balance to achieve in one's life. So Amanda, if you don't know Amanda, since February 27th, 1992, former Brisbaneite Amanda Boxtel has dreamed of walking again. On that fateful date, a freak skiing accident in Aspen Snowmass, Colorado, rendered her with a permanent spinal cord injury from the pelvis down. She has since been involved in community and outreach projects that aim to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities in the United States. Amanda is the founding executive director for Bridging Bionics Foundation, demonstrating how bionic exoskeleton technology has a positive impact on quality of life. Amanda showcased the first partially 3D printed exoskeleton in the world for Singularity University's European Summit in Budapest, Hungary, and then again at the Aspen Ideas Festival here in Colorado. So in November 2014, Amanda presented her forward-thinking ideas about neurorehabilitation and humanizing technology at TED City 2.0 in Chengdu, China. So you can find links to her TED Talk, you can find links to Bridging Bionics, you can find all that stuff at www.alter.health/episode 168. Bridging Bionics is bridgingbionics.org. So anyways, in this conversation, Amanda does share her story, this like premonition that she had on the mountain when right before she, had that fateful accident that really, I think we can agree that it wasn't an accident. I think that the universe really was putting Amanda in some real genuine place so that she could serve and she is serving. And I'm not suggesting that she couldn't serve if she had her ability to walk, but she is serving so deeply, so broadly in everything that she does. And she really just is supporting so many people in recovering and living with disability, in both just from an inspirational standpoint and also from a practical therapeutic standpoint through the Bridging Bionics Foundation. So Bridging Bionics offers these state-of-the-art technologies and rehabilitation services, healing services, at like next to nothing, pretty much free for anyone who, if they, qualify. We talk about how accessibility to these kind of state-of-the-art technologies and health promoting services, it's a human right, right? Healthcare is a human right. We should all be privileged to receiving the support that we need to rehabilitate. So anyways, I could go on and on about how amazing Amanda is, but I'll let you experience for yourself. But before we dive into this conversation, just a quick reminder, if you haven't yet done so, I'd be so grateful if you would hit the subscribe button, leave a rating, leave a comment, let me know how this one lands with you. And be sure to go over and learn more about Bridging Bionics at bridgingbionics.org and consider donating. They've got a place where you can give there because they do sustain themselves on charitable donations. So without further ado, let's all take a seat or, keep moving in whatever way you are, but be grounded, be here and now, take a breath, let it go, and enjoy this conversation with Amanda Boxtel. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for coming down to Carbondale and joining me on the Alter Your Health podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, I know you're a busy woman, intercontinental, and a lot of things that you do, and also, like you're just saying, here in the Valley, staying really busy with Bridging Bionics. And I want to learn all about what's going on, but I feel like maybe we should take some steps back and hear about your story and what led you to, be in a wheelchair now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in a chair. I'm sitting, but your listeners may
Yeah.
not be able to see me. Um, so, what put me in the wheelchair, I often say that it was the mountain that broke my back, but it didn't break my spirit. And so I was skiing at about 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, Crack a Noon Club, uh, back on February 27th, 1992. So almost 28 years paralyzed. I rode the chairlift for the first time of the day and at around noon. And I had a weird premonition, a wave that swept through me. And as I was riding up the chairlift, and I got off and I looked out at the view as though I was looking for the last time. And I couldn't explain what I was feeling, but I was trembling. And two people actually touched me on my shoulder and asked me if I was okay. And I said, I'm fine. I just need to get off the mountain. I remember that. And so, on purpose, to remain visible, I skied beneath the chairlift. I made that conscious decision. And I was on Coney Glade, an intermediate blue run at Snowmass Village, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I skied down and I stopped again on the flats and I looked out at the view again. And then I took off and in slow motion, I crossed my tips. I somersaulted. I shattered 4 vertebrae in a split second. And electric current zapped through my legs and then they crumbled on top of me and there was nothing. It was like a zzz, and as though someone turned off the light switch is how I describe it. And there was nothing. There was no movement, no feeling, no sensation below my pelvis. I was paralyzed. And, it was paralyzing, to use that analogy in that moment. I knew that my life would be forever changed. The wind was sucked out of me because I shattered a few ribs as well. I couldn't breathe. And I can remember calling for help, and as if to signify the emergency of the situation, a man in a neon orange suit. It was the 90s. I remember that, and he called for help. And ski patrol came. They asked me, "What's your name? Your full name? Your where do you live? What's your telephone number?" All those things that they ask. How many fingers do I have up? 2. How many now? 4. And so cognitively, I was there. I was present. I didn't hit my head. And so I remember it so vividly. And they held my head really straight and transferred me on to a backboard and took me down on a toboggan behind a snowmobile. Not long, I was flown on a flight for life to Denver, and not long after, it was probably a week or so after I'd had a major surgery to stabilize my spine. They put in some hardware. A young doctor strode into my hospital room, and he said, those words that resound in every cell of my body to this day. He said, and his face was younger than mine. His face almost screamed medical student, and he said, "You'll never walk again." And in the same breath, as if to shed light on the situation, he said, "But you can still have children." And of course, I didn't hear those words. I didn't care. It was like, "You'll never walk again." Was just took everything away from me. I think in this day and age when people are injured, I think physicians and doctors are more cautious and careful not to be so blunt. And so I became determined to prove him wrong. And I didn't. I'm still here. I'm still here and I'm thriving and I love my life, but I'm still sitting down.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, what strikes me about the story is that feeling and that premonition and that sense that you need to get off the mountain. Can you speak more to that? Like what do you think that was? And what I hear is kind of like the universe really bearing down on you to intervene or direct or support or guide or whatever. And it's almost as if this is like there was no getting around that collision, because it sounds like you were getting down on the easy run, going very mindfully and still,
And that's why I think, Ben, I can ask forever, why and why me? And, somehow I've been able to, over the years, turn it into why not me? And I've got a couple of favorite ski runs on highlands. There's why and there's why not. And I choose why not. And they're nice steep blacks that are short and fun. And so I think that resiliency, the ability to overcome, there's some inner strength and determination. I'm made of steel, but ultimately, to this day, I listen to my intuition. I try to really heed to that. And, that gut instinct, people say that it's like your second brain, it's your, and I really try to use that inner knowingness as my guide and to deflect, what's going on in the mind and to really um, it, channel myself and navigate life through my intuition, my gut, and more open-hearted awareness, and try to not let the brain get in the way too much, if that makes sense. And yes, I think that was a very intuitive moment of mine, but I feel like to this day that if it wasn't the skiing accident, I feel like it could have been something else, that it was a time in my life where I feel like I needed a wake up call and a shake up. And it was, massive for me and life altering. And who knows the woman that I would have become had I not gone through this journey of paralysis. I've spoken about paralysis and that it's a life sentence, I feel. And it's a cruel injury. I see it in our clients for Bridging Bionics, which we can talk about, but I see it all the time, and the struggle and the challenge, and how to somehow see the sunshine and the hope, and to harness that, and to keep it alive in you, and to be hopeful. And so one of the biggest lessons in my life has been around that dance of hope and acceptance, and how hope and acceptance can and must coexist, I believe, in that what I accept right here, right now. I'm paralyzed, yes, right here, right now. But what I do to my body to prepare my body, I can prepare for what I could be tomorrow. So, what I accept right here, right now, frees me to be hopeful for what the next moment might bring.
Mm. Yeah, I really love how you articulated that dance between acceptance and hope. And I know that, as doctors, doctors are trained not to give false hope
Yeah.
to patients, but hope is such powerful medicine as well. So, and I think we all
Yes.
deserve it. And who are we to call it false or true, or like hope is hope. And
Yes.
and hope is really kind of nothing without acceptance in the moment. And
In the moment.
yeah.
And it's like, again, it's you bring it back to right here. And this moment, it's like, okay, it is what it is right now. But I have, with the power of intentionality, with, my mind, my um, essence of who I am, I can turn that around, and I can still be hopeful. And I think I've really explored false hope and real hope, and in my lifetime, and it's been an interesting ongoing lesson and challenge. And life as we know it is not just steady, or a steady up it's a roller coaster. We have valleys to traverse, and hills and mountains to climb. And um, there are days when I feel like, oh, I'm climbing my Mount Everest. And but and there's a struggle, but it's somehow we all have the ability to turn that around. And so if I can infuse hope into others and have them turn it around too, then that's a part of maybe what this journey is all about, and why I'm living my life as I am.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I see is your traumatic event and how it affects you in all of the ways that it has, and the struggles that you have been through and go through every day. There are like tons and tons and tons of people who benefit. It's like you're not a martyr or something, but like like you're not dying for that, or like a greater good, but you're suffering and holding that and living with that for the benefit of others who are paralyzed. And created like the Bridging Bionics Foundation, which truly does physically support others, and all of your speaking and inspirational work that kind of gets people moving.
Yes. Well, and you hit it on the head. It's getting people moving.
Yeah.
And we are made for mobility.
Yeah.
When we sit in a wheelchair and we live our lives sitting down, we begin to die. We need to keep our bodies mobile and moving, regardless of what we cannot move. And if we can't move it, we figure out how. And whether it's physical therapy or advanced technologies. I figured out that access is the key to all of this. And if we make regular healing therapies, whatever that is, access to technologies, if we make it accessible and affordable and available, then we have hope and we have the chance to heal and to infuse our bodies with life. And we see it because our clients with Bridging Bionics Foundation, and we can talk about that, have
we will.
access to regular technology and these healing therapies that's affordable for next to nothing. Then we're getting results because we take all those other things out of the equation, and they're just able to focus on their bodies and on themselves and on healing. And then we look at the mental component as well, and we throw that into the mix, and then we see that growth is happening, that neuro recovery is taking place.
Yeah, well, I want to, kind of figure out what happened between 28 years ago and the accident, and then you were recognized by CNN, CNN Hero. Just a couple of years ago. Like, what did you do? What have you done? What are you doing to have gained that recognition? And how have you done it?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's been, again, a journey. And I think some journeys we choose and some journeys choose us. And I don't know, I feel like, again, I was put on this path for a reason. I figured out that the bridge to my positivity and wanting to just live life again was through Challenge Aspen, a recreational program in the Valley that enables people to, I coined the term, take the dis out of disability, and to focus on your abilities, and to look at recreation as a means to getting your life back, and to be able to go back and ski again, and to become a better skier than I ever was before, and to teach skiing to others with a similar disability. I'm going out on Saturday with someone who was injured just last January, on January 29th, and it's just my pleasure to be able to see him get back on the snow again a year later, and to be there with him and for him. And I think he'll be this kid that winds up in the Paralympic team. I mean, that's who he is. He's an athlete, and he's so excited. He said, Amanda, in a text, he said, I'm just crying tears of joy right now because of this opportunity. And so it's instilling that in others, and they're grateful. But so that was my journey with and co-founding with my former colleague, Houston Cohen, Challenge Aspen, the disability program in the Valley. And then I felt like I really needed to focus on my body, and I went to India on 7 different occasions for a very controversial stem cell journey, and I was given embryonic stem cells for 7 different occasions over the span of 3 years.
In attempts to regrowing nerves, cartilage, bones, like that kind of stuff?
Yes, they're hematopoietic stem cells, so they're able to morph and differentiate into all different tissue types and in the body and cells. And so I had 0 negative side effects. I went in 16 years post spinal cord injury, and not really expecting anything, of course, hopeful, because I am a bit of an incurable optimist. And so I went in hoping for something. Now, granted, I did 2 hours a day of physical therapy, 6 days a week, combined with this stem cell treatment when I was there. And I was there for anywhere from a month to 6 weeks at a time. And our community in the Roaring Fork Valley helped fund that journey, and I blogged. Um, I was writing all the time. I created a memoir that sits on my hard drive that still hasn't got a life. Maybe one day it will. And so it was really a powerful time for me to go in, to be very reflective and to watch my body awaken. And I was able to regain from that experience and with the stem cells some more muscle function and sensation, to be able to avoid urine on my own with that Balsalvic maneuver, and to push and evacuate a stool on my own, which was, huge to be able to, when you lose your sexuality and your bodily functions, that's a big part of spinal cord injury. It's not all about just not being able to walk again. It's dealing with some secondary complications, such as loss of sexuality, of bladder, bowel, but also dealing with potentially pressure sores, nerve pain that is off the charts. I have nerve pain to this day that is still sometimes out of a 1 to 10 an 11, and it's really difficult to deal with. And I've learned through meditation and things like that to transcend the pain. Yet with these stem cells, I was able to regain some bladder, bowel, abdominal, hip flexors, trace muscles in my quads, trace hamstrings, trace glutes, and enough to be able to move my legs, to be able to feel stronger in my core, my stability, my mobility, and overall range of motion, yet not enough to enable me to walk. And the journey was, I'll try and speed this up quickly. I was really focused on my body and maximizing everything that I could with my mobility, and while keeping my flexibility, my range of motion. I knew I needed to weight bear on my legs. I got in a Ultra G treadmill. Are you familiar with
I think I've seen
an
them.
Ultra
They
G?
kind of hold you. You're kind of held. Well, ultra G, ultra gravity. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you exactly. So it's a zero gravity.
yeah.
It's a treadmill where you're suspended over it in a cushion of air,
Oh,
and
it's air that's holding you.
yeah.
It's not like suspenders, like like someone running, being kind of
Well,
held up
in a
in a
harness.
harness.
So
Yeah.
it's both
Okay.
actually. So you're kind of there. So imagine I pulled on some shorts with a zipper that's kind of like a kayak skirt, and I would
Mhm.
zip into this machine, and then the machine inflates.
Got it.
And so you inflate with it, and you're standing up, and you can uh, determine, your weight bearing, um, how much gravity you have to really fully weight bear, or if you're just kind of hardly touching the treadmill. And so I would figure that out, and then we'd turn the treadmill on, and I had enough movement in my legs to be able to move my legs on the treadmill.
Wow.
But I looked sloppy. I looked like a drunkard, kind of like, really, it
Well,
was not pretty.
I'm sure that like lit something inside of you.
Yes, and to
Yeah.
be able to do that motion and the movement, to be able to being upright and then to just move my legs, it was really empowering and exciting for me. But three things weren't happening. And those three things were: I wasn't fully weight bearing on my legs. My joints weren't aligned biomechanically as they should. So I was fearful that I was going to create bad habits and bad patterns with my gait. And the third thing is that I was on a treadmill, and I wasn't walking over ground through
Yeah.
space.
The ground was moving under you. You weren't moving. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting the proprioceptive feedback with the world moving by me. So as you walk, you're getting these visual cues through space. As you walk, the world's going by you, and that all helps with your brain, your input, your gait. Everything comes into play and works in harmony. And so I imagine being encased in an outer shell of some sort that I could, walk over ground in. And this is again the power of intentionality, I think. And I don't know, again, I'm a very intuitive, perceptive woman. Maybe I saw it, I envisioned it, but then I received the phone call that changed my life. And that was to be invited to test a prototype of the first bionic exoskeleton suit in the US. And I was the first paraplegic woman to test that for National Geographic Television. So no pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what allowed you that kind of opportunity? There's, tons of paraplegics.
Right.
So what, like,
So it
how
was
did
a
you?
small world story.
Oh,
It was a friend of a friend that knew the CEO of this company, and I was invited, and I
and
just
your
received the phone
intention,
call. I
and
think so,
we can't
maybe.
we
Yeah.
can't gloss
It's
over
okay.
just your.
Yes. Yes.
You brought it in, and yeah,
Manifesting. And so, who knows
yeah.
really, but before I knew it, I was there. The robot didn't work on the first day; it died, and there were just engineering geeks that are brilliant running the whole show. And I got up and for National Geographic, and third time's a charm, right? So I fell, and it was ugly, and I was on a harness suspended over a track, and I fell, and
So was
I didn't
yeah.
fall. I mean, it caught me, but they wanted me to stand up independently, walk independently, turn around, come back, and sit down, all on my own. They didn't have a clinical team, and now they have this most amazing clinical team. This is before the engineering company created a um, a device that they're selling as a medical device. It's been FDA approved, and so I test piloted eLegs was the name of it. It's now currently called Exo. It was rebranded from the former company was Berkeley Bionics, and now it's Exobionics out of Richmond, California. And I was one of the test pilots, and we created an ambassador program, and they created this most amazing medical device that still is my very favorite exoskeleton to this day. It's fully adjustable,
Hmm.
and it's this device that stands you up very naturally. Your chin, when you stand up, you kind of do this crouch down. Your chin goes over your knees. It stands you up. The weight of the robot is about 45 pounds. The weight is dispersed into the ground because it's a robot, right? So it powers you up. You stand, and then you can take steps. And as you learn to become proficient in this device, you're as you take a step, there's a couple of targets you have to hit with sensors in the feet, and once you hit the forward target and the lateral target and you weight shift correctly, it'll take another step. But with the artificial intelligence, it's got a variable assist modality where the robot can gauge how much the user is inputting to the device with the
Yeah.
user's strength, and then it'll help you complete a step. And so we can power this down, so much so that someone who's had a stroke, where the affected side gets to have full robotic assist or partial, and the unaffected side gets to walk under the person's own power.
Hmm.
And that's how amazing this technology is.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
through the videos at Bridging Bionics and whatnot, people using this, and it's like,
Mm.
what is going on here? Is the person walking, or is the person being walked? And it
Mhm.
is both. Like
It's both.
the person is walking, and I didn't know that there was like this artificial intelligence in there that's kind of sensing how
It's
much is
reading.
going on and supporting in a very obviously very kind of structured way.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's 4 motors, and there's a gyroscope in the back. There's 2 lithium ion batteries. It's a really fabulous. I mean, to get a robot standing and walking on its own without a human body inside of it, I mean, that's a challenge in itself. And then you put a paralyzed human inside of a robot, and they've figured out this complex conundrum, and they've created, in essence, the most complex neuroprosthetic ever imagined. And so, and to be able to power down the variable assist, the smart assist, they call it, of the robot with the artificial intelligence, that's key to then it becoming a rehabilitative device where I'll get out of breath. I'll get a cardio workout because I'm giving maximum input for whatever I've got in my muscle power to move the device and to walk over ground. So we'll go back to those three things that were lacking in the Ultra G treadmill when I was trying to do it on my own. All those three things came together in perfect harmony in that when I walk in a bionic exoskeleton suit, I'm fully weight bearing. I'm walking over ground with the world going by me, and my joints are biomechanically aligned as they should be.
Yeah, it's super cool. How much does this thing cost now? Because it,
Yeah.
especially when you were testing it now,
Yeah.
we're like 8 years later. How many years has it been?
Yeah.
So what's
So
the?
I started, I first tested the device in 2010 in July, and now we're in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's been about a 10-year journey for me. It was manufactured, went out on, I think it was like Valentine's Day in 2012 that they could actually sell the device to hospitals. These devices are typically only found in the top rehabilitation hospitals in the world. You're looking at a cost for these to be about $175,000. And then we have a $14,000 to $15,000 annual service and warranty fee on top of that.
Wow.
And so there's not just one, there's actually 4 exoskeletons that now have FDA approval in the United States.
Like they're different products, different companies.
And so we have Exo from Exobionics. We have Indigo from Parker Hannafin, which is we have in our program as well. That was another $175,000 device. And so I'm a fundraiser. That's ultimately what I do. I'm just a fundraiser. But then, and then we have a $11,000, I think it is, service and warranty fee annually on top of that to keep it, because these things are robots and they
need to go. They need to go to the doctor.
Right. They need to go to the doctor. So, and so we have upkeep. Yeah. And then, so we have the Indigo, the Exo. We have, in the United States, there's a Rewalk, which is, they have originates in Israel, but it's FDA approved. A lot of people use it in home. It's when I talk about an in-home device, they're not really functional for daily living. It'll enable them to be able to get up and stand up and take steps independently.
Yeah, these are devices that kind of support and train people to use their muscles and maybe get into more mobility in their life. Exactly. They're not something to weight bear. They're not a wheelchair or crutches or something like that.
Not yet. And I think that eventually will come. And then we've got the HAL, which is from Cyberdyne.
Wait, it's called HAL?
No, HAL. That's my accent. Not HAL. HAL.
I don't know about that as a product.
The hybrid assisted I can't remember the acronym HAL from Cyberdyne. And so there's 4 FDA approved in the United States, but there's I think more than 40 exoskeletons worldwide that are out there. There's the Exoatlet from Russia. There's one that we have in our program that's not FDA approved, but we've been utilizing this in an investigational study with our clients, and they absolutely love it, and they're chomping at the bit for it to become FDA approved. And we're hoping
because
for
once
this
it becomes FDA approved, then what does that
then
really
we can use it in our program. We're limited. Like we've got clients, and this one is called the Kyogo dermoskeleton. It's not as much of an exoskeleton. It's only to the top of the thigh and down to the ankle. It's still a powered robotic assistive device, but you have to be able to ambulate and take a step to use it. I couldn't do it. I cannot use the Kyogo, but we've got clients with various neurological conditions such as multiple sclerosis, transverse myelitis, cerebral palsy, and they're all able to use this particular device, and it's amazing. One of our ladies in our valley, she grieved when we took it away from her because it was part of an investigational study, and we have parameters to abide to with these IRB protocols out of a university in California. And we said, no, we can't just let you walk in this and keep using it. And she cried, and it was like taking a toy away from a child. I mean, she was really upset because it gave her freedom of mobility to actually go out on a hiking trail, to run for the first time in 30 years because she's got robotic assist. And so we're hoping that it'll be FDA approved, and then we'll be able to incorporate that into our program regularly and open it up to all of our clients for use.
Cool. So I want to, now kind of we're getting there into
Okay.
into the program. So you tried this device 10 years ago, and it was really expensive, kind of inaccessible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now it's not. Now it's not. Well, maybe it's still expensive, but it's not inaccessible thanks to you. And how did you do that? How have you created these programs, this foundation that supports people? Because there are tons of paralyzed people in the world. How like who could benefit from this? And it's amazing to me that when I learned of Bridging Bionics soon after moving here, I was like, well, it's an interesting place because there's so many people injuring themselves, it seems like, in this valley, and it's like this, it's like a mecca for rehabilitation.
Well, I think you look at the numbers of spinal cord injured people. I don't have because it's changing all the time, right? So for how many are paralyzed and from different neurological injuries, not just spinal cord injury, across the United States. And so I think I represent 1 in 2,300 in the world that has a spinal cord injury. And so but then you bring it back to the States, and then you think of those who have a different neurological condition, and then stroke. Stroke expands a population of individuals that need assistive devices to help them regain mobility. And so, yes, in the Roaring Fork Valley, we have adventure athletes who take risks. I mean, that's where we live.
I guess that's probably not, I mean, there's a lot of people who paralyze themselves from their athletic endeavors, but that's probably not how most people are in, motor vehicle accidents.
Yes, motor vehicle and gunshot wounds. They're the primary spinal cord injury, how people get injured for spinal cord injury in the United States. Yet where we live, it's a little different because we've got mountain biking athletes who are injured. We've got skiing, of course.
There's paragliding is huge.
Yes, just a young gentleman came through our program who was injured in Glenwood Springs last year from a paragliding accident.
And then the kayaker who was in
and we've got
in that video I watched.
Nate is actually on our Nate White is on our board of directors now, and he was paralyzed, I want to say 3 years ago. And Nate I really try to bite my tongue when I say he's the walking miracle, but he kind of is. He's had quite a miraculous journey. And I want to preface that Bridging Bionics, we are a tool. We're one tool to someone's neuro recovery. I think many elements come into play. And so I don't want to be so cocky to have people think that,
magic bullet.
He recovered because of Bridging Bionics. It's not that. I think we provide access to regular physical therapy, different healing therapies, which I can go into, and advanced technologies, and we take cost out of the equation. And so to get back to your question, what happened in that 10-year gap for me was I wanted to try other exoskeletons other than the one that I was a test pilot for. I went to Craig Hospital, a big neuro rehabilitation hospital for spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury in Denver. and they're a world-class facility, and I love them. But the but is that they had a rewalk exoskeleton that I wanted to try. And I had to pay $250 out of pocket because I hadn't met my private health insurance deductible, which was $4,000. And so it was all out of pocket for me. And they wanted me to do this. They said, no, if you're going to try it, it's good to do it 2 days in a row, Amanda. So 2 days in a row at 8 hours a day, it's like, that's a lot of money out of pocket. And the Rewalk physical therapist at the time checked in with the company, and he gifted it to me. I still had to pay out of pocket for my physical therapy, but it wasn't exorbitant, but typically it would have been $250 per hour out of pocket.
Okay, so $250 an hour, 8 hours a day.
So
And
you do the
need
math.
you need to be consistent in some sense
Yes.
to really make progress.
And
with
that
these
was just a
tools.
taste of the robot, right?
I
Of
mean,
the exit.
yeah.
So, and this is cutting edge technology. It needs to be available and affordable so that people can use it regularly. And then I went back and I wanted to try the Indigo exoskeleton. I've walked in 4 exoskeletons, one from another prototype from Canada named the Arc. And anyway, I wanted to try the Indigo, same thing. It was going to be out of pocket, and I sucked it up and I thought, okay. But I was so determined, thinking, you know what? And I had fundraised with our community, and the Carbondale Camp Run Amok kids helped me. Amanda, and I can't disclose the cost of the exoskeleton that the company made available to me. And when you say it's somewhat affordable, but I'll give you a hint. There was a little boy that said, Amanda, at $1 a cup, we can sell 80,000 cups of lemonade. And it's like, oh. So
That's cute.
we raised the money.
Wow.
And through
80,000 cups of lemonade, huh?
Right. And so it was, the kids played a small but very large part, because at 11:11 every day we threw a imaginary boomerang out to the universe and made a wish, and for Amanda to get her exoskeleton, and the boomerang came back, and I stood in front of those kids with Jennifer Montoya, who was running Camp Run Amok, and we saw the magic and the dream come alive. And I put 130,000 steps on that exoskeleton around my parking lot. I, in that time, also brought in a whole body vibration technology to calm down my tone in my legs, my spasticity, so that I could then transition into the robot and walking in the exoskeleton smoothly. And I realized the power of whole body vibration technology, so that became this winning combination. And I thought, you know what? Why do I have to be the lucky girl? We can get an entire community up and walking. And so I created Bridging Bionics Foundation. I raised money. We raised about 80,000 in our first fundraiser. I then hired 4 physical therapists, had space donated at the Aspen Club, and we started a program. And we had 1 robot. We had a Galileo whole body vibration tilt table valued at $20,000, donated by Boogie, Lenny Weinglass. And we had a program, the beginnings of a program.
This was what year again?
And this was back in October 19th, 2015 was when we first started, and we're now 4 years old, and we have since gifted more than 6,000 therapeutic mobility sessions to our clients.
Wow.
We now have 3 exoskeletons in our program, and keep in mind they're valued at $175,000 a piece, except for the Kyogo, which is about $50,000. We have a bunch of Galileo tilt tables and vibrational plates and dumbbells and other equipment, and really, really skilled physical therapists who have extra specialties that they bring to our program with, oh gosh, dry needling and pull therapy and uh, neuroplasticity, working with the brain. So we kind of incorporate all of those things into a physical therapy program. We have 2 trainers. We've created a performance training program. So it's a holistic approach to healing, but probably the most critical component that we've just most recently incorporated into our program is a collaborative initiative with Pathfinders Aspen of the Valley. And it's to deal with the mental wellness and mental health component, where it's called Redefining Transitions, Building Resiliency. And I feel that without the mental aspect, if you're in this downward spiral and you can't pull yourself out of it, you're not giving your body a chance to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so without the mental, how can the physical have a chance? And so we're now gifting free one-on-one counseling to all of our active clients in our program, and we're going to start up small group therapy as well.
Wow, that is
Wow.
amazing. That really is amazing. For some reason, I thought that the Bridging Bionics, I assumed just because of how prolific it seems that had been around for a decade, but
No.
less than half a decade.
Yeah, less than 4 years.
Yeah.
And we've helped more than 100 clients. I would have to get a handle. It's
Yeah.
probably approaching 120 now in the span of, and that's just in the Roaring Fork Valley. We have 2 facilities. One, our primary facility, is at the Snowmass Club, and we have a really beautiful agreement with them where I'm just so grateful because they have pools there. We have a pool lift. And then we have access to the gym and the spa and this beautiful runway where our exoskeletons can walk in the length of the gym. We also have a facility at Midland Fitness in Glenwood Springs.
Oh, cool.
And so 2 facilities that are operating 5 days a week in both facilities with PTs and trainers. And we're getting anywhere from, say, 35 to 45 clients scheduled per week. And each client, my goal is to have each client do 2 physical therapy sessions up to an hour and a half each session, plus a training session with one of our performance training experts. And so per week. And so that, when you multiply that times up to 45 individuals, it's a lot. It's a lot of scheduling. And so we're helping quite a few people to regain mobility. But I want to emphasize that there was a reason that I took it out of the hospital, Ben, and that I get PTSD when I go back into a hospital.
Hospitals aren't for healing. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're for the acute life-saving, and then we got to go somewhere else to heal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the way I see it.
Thank you for expressing that.
I don't know if that's what you were trying to say.
No, I love it. I concur a bit.
Okay.
I feel I wanted to be in an environment with our program that promoted inclusivity and wellness. And so that's why we put it in a gym, or like the 360-degree or 180-degree wellness. I think it's a facility at Midland Fitness that has all different naturopaths and other healing therapies there as well. And so it's in that environment where we're not segregated behind clinical walls. We're a part of. And so someone like you, who's fully able-bodied and can work out.
Yeah, you're not like putting the paralyzed people in the corner,
right,
and like in their
Thank
like
you.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win, because we hear from the other members in the gym and athletics club that they're motivated and inspired by us. Almost, if they can do it, I can too. And then totally. I am as well, to walk alongside someone who's on a treadmill, or I feel like I'm going to a gym, and we get down to cost. And so what I haven't mentioned is that we now have these exoskeletons in our program taken out of a top rehab hospital. They're found in a gym. It took me a year to set this up with several attorneys because they said, "You want to do what? Take it out of a hospital and put it in a gym?" I said, "Yes." And so it took a lot to get to that point. But now we have these incredibly cost prohibitive, expensive exoskeletons available and affordable because every client in our program participates in our program, and they're called clients, not patients. So, and I made a real point of that. And so every client in our program gets to enjoy our services for either next to nothing or zero cost.
So let's talk about how that happens.
Yeah.
You said you're a fundraiser,
Yeah.
and you've raised a lot of money to make this happen. And is what do we need to do to keep it going?
Oh, yeah.
And keep it going and keep it growing.
Keep it going and growing so we can provide it. And my goal, I'd love to create satellites elsewhere, but ultimately it comes back to the dollar. It is a charitable organization. So our clients, we ask for a $500 membership or annual fee. And that's for the whole year. And so
that seems reasonable.
For the whole year, it's cheaper than most gym memberships, if you think of it.
Yeah.
And then probably about 45% of our clients don't pay anything, and that's just a full scholarship.
Just like a $500 a year, and then they come in as much as they want.
As much. Need. So I'll schedule them. I've got two of our clients actually coming in 4 times a week, 3 physical therapy sessions at an hour and a half a session, and then a full training session as well with our trainer. And that's when you add that up 4 times a week. And so it's $75 an hour. We're fully transparent that we pay our physical therapists. The take-home
kind of the cost.
Take-home pay is $75 an hour. Then we have our trainers as well that work alongside as PT assists and trainers with our PTs. And then you look at the overhead costs, the administrative costs, the cost of the capital equipment that we've got. This is not cheap.
Yeah.
And so we did the math one time and broke it down. Really, we're looking at $300 an hour when you look it down for each client. So I'm constantly fundraising. We've increased our budget this year to $750,000, which is a lot for the program, and so that we can look at a vision.
I hear that
and look at expanding.
Yeah, I hear that number, $750,000, and I think about the 100 or 120 people's lives that are dramatically transformed and supported.
Yes.
And it's like, it's like a no-brainer that
Thank you.
That like the it's worth it. If you just think about the waste in the medical industry. I mean, people spend $750,000 in a week in the hospital or something, and all the procedures and medicines and technicians and tests, so yeah.
Well, I really believe that, and it's where we live it's not just our country. It's, if I tried to do this in Australia, there's bureaucracy and there's, healthcare systems, and nothing's really fantastic. But with this model, people are not only maintaining their wellness and their quality of life, they're regaining mobility. We're reducing secondary complications associated with paralysis, and we have 0 rehospitalizations associated with paralysis.
And then the well-being aspect that is invaluable.
Yes, so the mental well-being that we've now incorporated into our model. And so the cost of healthcare should never be an issue. It should never, ever be an issue. People deserve, it is our human right to have access to affordable technologies and healing therapies, so that I have a chance. I figured it out, but so that every person has a chance for wellness and to optimize their life, whether you're paralyzed or not.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're talking with people all the time in our practice because, like money, people, I don't want to say that people don't value their health, but our society isn't structured in a way that supports people in valuing their health. And,
Yes.
all of the healthcare services that people want to truly heal and not just maintain their condition,
Mm-hmm.
there's a cost to them. And it's amazing
Mm-hmm.
that there's a foundation in place and this exists that kind of covers that
Mm-hmm.
and just
Well,
makes it, yeah.
without our health, what do we have?
Yeah.
Without our health, we've got nothing.
Mhm.
I was just at Crown Mountain Park walking my very hairy golden retriever a couple of weeks ago, and my wheelchair, I was getting out of the car, and the wheelchair flipped over backwards, and the cushion flew, and I could get the wheelchair, but I couldn't get the cushion, and I called down to a guy on a electric bike, mountain bike with these big tires, and I asked for his help to come get my cushion. He got off his bike and he dragged his leg behind him. And I thought, here we go. New client. I can't
Yeah.
help myself.
Yeah, really. This was talk about divine intervention.
So I I mean, I wasn't so forward as saying, well, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I said, we struck up a conversation, and come to find out he had a spinal cord injury and broke his neck 30 years ago. And he said, I never got the therapy, and it was just always too expensive, and is going down this track. I said, I can help you. He said, no, physical. He said, I don't have the money. I said, no, well, you just like, okay, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I can help you. So this guy went to have his first program yesterday, a
Awesome.
first session. And he said to me, he texted me, and he said, and I've got it right here. And he said, I met Maria, my physical therapist, today. She had me do a standing test. She had me do some other tests at noon with my appointment. She was super nice. After some evaluation, she put me on a device that vibrated through my feet. That's the Galileo whole body vibration. After several of those exercises, she had me walk to check my gait, and it was like a whole lot better. Wow. She also checked my balance using just 1 foot at a time. And this test really made me aware of my deficit on my right side. I've been dealing with it for so long, I never realized it was that bad. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to take advantage of this evaluation in your program. And I said, you're welcome. I'm glad that you can benefit from our program. That's why I created Bridging Bionics for individuals like you. It's my pleasure to help you and give you the gift of renewed mobility. And he said, if you keep this up, you're going to make me crying tears of joy. Thank you so much.
Oh man, I mean, I'm sure that you have supported so many people in crying their tears of joy.
So
Yeah.
it's about mobility. And if we can help someone, Ben, to regain and have a better life. I've got a little girl, and her mummy's so excited. And she's a little Hispanic girl named Yami, Yami. And she starts this afternoon. And so we've got children, pediatrics, all the way up to our oldest client is 81.
Wow. So do the clients have to do anything in order to qualify? Sounds yeah. What's
Well,
that
they have to
process?
have a neurological condition where it's mobility, it's affecting their mobility.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and whatever that is, they do have to have a medical release signed by a doctor, and a doctor that knows their condition and preferably understands the technologies that we're using, whole body vibration. So there are contraindications where sometimes, for various reasons, a client may not qualify to be in our program. And so we've got a list of those on our medical application, and that could be a whole slew of different things that
But in terms of the financial
Yeah.
piece, it's
I
available for
we will,
anyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will not turn anybody away
Yeah.
due to financial hardship. Like this guy, full scholarship. I
Uh-huh.
said, yeah, and but they do have to show their financials and their taxes, and so I have a scholarship application form
Uh-huh.
that they have to complete, and so we look at those for sure,
Yeah.
as we're a public charity and we're transparent and
Yeah.
accountable to our donors, and so but yeah, that's why we exist, to help the individuals like the man that came yesterday and Yummy and every other client that's getting therapy today and walking.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm.
Well, it's super cool. I want to kind of wrap up our
Hmm.
conversation.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing about Bridging Bionics. And I've heard, like I think I mentioned, just people talking about that foundation just being
Mm.
here in the Valley. And it always has piqued my interest. And then, I did some Googling and I found you, and here we are. But
Mm.
I want to know about kind of your um, routine or
Hmm.
strategy in your life, or like what do you do besides getting in your exoskeleton and moving the body, the parts
Hmm.
of your body that you can, what's your wellness day-to-day routine like?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because and the
Yeah,
reason why I ask
yeah.
is because I believe that movement
Hmm.
is necessary for well-being and health. Exercise, maybe not, but moving, yes. And I think that a lot of people think that they need to be running or doing some, they need to be doing some
Hmm.
activity in order to maintain their health. But I'm sitting with you and I can tell that you're healthy and vibrant, and
Mm.
you're not running,
Right.
but I
Hmm.
trust that you are
Hmm.
moving as
Right.
well as
Well, I
fueling your,
think
yeah.
everything from I just did a Kundalini yoga session the other day, and so I think everything from our breath,
Hmm.
from moving, from just uh, whatever I can move, I try to keep as mobile as I can
Hmm.
with my wheelchair. I think I tried to incorporate a way back before exoskeletons and weight bearing and a 5 day per week regimen of some sort that helped with my cardiovascular workout, to help with balance, with endurance, with just core stability, to keep my core strength, because a lot of everything I do really stems from my core center, my health, my diet. I try to really um, look at what I'm putting into my body and to pay attention to that, and with whether it's plant based or trying to. I know that when I have dairy, it congests me and I get all phlegmy, and so I really try to, and that's me. And I've really become in tune with my own body and what supplements and what helps me be vibrant.
Hmm.
And but then I think meditation, and that's what I didn't do. I didn't make time for it this morning, and I had a really tough morning. When I came in, I was like, oh, and I was outside and the snow was hard to get through, and
It
I was
was
like,
thick and slushy this morning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was just having a bit of a struggle today, but I know that when I meditate and I spend at least 5 minutes of just sitting still, and that 5 minutes can quickly go into an hour if I allow it. But if I'm sitting still and I ask the universe for, please God, let me serve only as an instrument of love, and my quantum purpose is to stand in the realm of hope and possibility and movement. um, and then if I heed to the call of compassion and to help others and to see the divine in others,
Mhm.
and I try to reinforce those messages and to help me through my day. And so I think that all comes into the big picture of Amanda and vibrancy and wellness and my overall. And then, yeah, I try to schedule myself with Bridging Bionics. So yeah, ultimately it's self-serving, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
So I get to use the
I hope so.
exoskeleton and the physical therapists, and so I schedule myself not enough. I try to do it twice a week, up at the program, and to make that available. And yeah.
Cool. And I've got to ask, like, what is your, like, 28 years you've been sitting, and tell me about like that journey. It seems like I don't know at all, but it seems like maybe you talked about gaining muscular strength. You talked about increased mobility and range of motion. What do you, and we also talked about acceptance and hope.
Yes.
So what do you accept and hope for yourself in the future?
Oh, wow. I feel like with my body as it is, I've been paralyzed for 28 years and I'm 52 now. And I've lived more of my lifetime sitting down and in this wheelchair, paralyzed, than I have walking. In my full able-bodied, I was a dancer. I was an athlete, the former athletics captain of my school. I'd love to run and have waves chase me on the beach, and so I think it's about maintaining what I have in my body at the moment, but there's always this little sneaking bit of hope in there for continuing to prepare my body with its range of motion, making sure that I don't get joint contractures or some of those secondary complications I talked about earlier, and to be fit and well so that, my goodness, if there is some type of magical cure, that I'm a candidate and that I'm ready. We need to prepare our bodies for tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so I just know that by doing all of that, I feel good about myself. And so for the future, I mean, that's where it has been this dance, it still is, between acceptance and hope. But I'm quite content with my life. I really have. I mean, I don't live with regrets, really. I've done a lot. I've traveled the world. I've been to Antarctica, and I've been all over, and I feel I want to keep that going. And just like you, and whatever your dreams are and aspirations are, I have them too, but I'm just sitting down. So how do I, look at adaptive technologies? And I just feel so fortunate to live in this lifetime where I have access to amazing things. I get out and I cross country ski, I downhill ski, I hand cycle, and I'm fortunate. I feel I have a lot more than many people in this life have, and who live in other countries where they don't have access to the things that I have. And so I think it's gratitude that leads my way and helps me look toward a positive future. It's ultimately gratitude and love.
I think that's a great place to end, Amanda. Yeah, thank you for sharing this hour with me and inspiring me and the world, and creating opportunities for so many people in their health journey and mobility journey and wellness journey. So
thank you.
For people to learn more about Bridging Bionics, and maybe where can they find you on the web and stuff?
Right. So I'm about to launch a new website, but our current website is bridgingbionics.org. And so bridging, like a bridge across a river, we're bridging mobility, bridging lives one step at a time, bridging community. So bridging, and then bionics, BIONICS, plural.org. And people can learn about our program there, learn about the technologies, and then also make donations to give the gift of mobility so that we can continue doing what we're doing. And that's really our tagline. We're giving the gift of mobility. And I think that's more valuable than anything else, I believe, because I live it. So if you can help someone be more mobile and grateful and appreciative, like the guy who texted me, he's like,
That's
oh
such
my
a wild
God,
story.
thank you. Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago, huh? I'm sure it happens quite a bit every once in a while, huh?
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. And we've got a gala on July 5th. So
like a fundraising event.
Yeah, big. It's our signature fundraising event, and it's going to be at the Hotel Jerome. And so we'll have a link on our website, or you can go to aspengala.com, and we secured that URL. And so aspengala.com. And this year it's going to be really fun because it's an 80s theme.
All
so
right.
you can get your Madonna outfits.
I was born in the 80s. I can do this. Kind of remember.
Yeah, I remember too. So it'll be really fun, and we'll have our clients there, and there won't be a dry eye in the room, and we'll pull heartstrings, and you'll see what we're all about. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Amanda, and peace and love. And until next time.
Thank you.
All right.